All right, Joni and Monica, thank you so much for that kind introduction. It's such a joy to be here with Revel 11, and congratulations on the rebranding. I'm just gonna get a thumbs up that everyone can hear me okay? Good. Okay, all right. Well, it's such a joy to be here and present with you. And thank you for your courage, for your energy, and for your time investing in you today. I know you could be many different places and you're choosing to be here. So something brought you here, and I thank you for that. And so without further ado, I am going to start sharing my screen so you can see what's going on. Here we go. Okay, so if you just hold on for a moment, you'll see some lovely Zoom things going on. And and I'd love to have a little background music, as I often do. Okay, so
we could sing for you.
Oh, please, yes. I have to do sound effects. I was a yoga instructor, and when I would go and adjust or visually or verbally adjust, like rotate your arm like this, I'd be like, just make these hilarious sound effects. Can I get a confirmation that you can see my screen? A yes or a no?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, Monica, thank you. Good, just want to make sure that that is there and in effect. Okay, well, welcome to the Happy Vibes sessions. And again, it's such an honor to be here with Revel 11 and Joni and Monica. So thank you for taking the time here. What this is going to look like is we're going to have about 40 minutes of a very experiential, interactive session, and then about 15 minutes for Q&A. So there will be a couple opportunities to also share in the chat section. And if you don't have it yet with you, please go find something to write with, I recommend. Perhaps a pen and a paper, your phone if it's handy. If you're watching on your computer, you can take notes. Just do something of that sort to be able to jot down anything if you need it. That just depends, again, if that's something that you prefer to do and if you like to do. Okay, so we are here. Happy Vibes session, taking a sustainable step for you. Now, diving into this, as we do, I'd love to start with this concept of never be afraid to reinvent yourself. We are in unprecedented times, in uncertainty, unknowns, and there's always an opportunity, a silver lining, and never be afraid to reinvent yourself. And to tell you a little bit about myself to start, if you see this image, there's many images on there. It's so many different things going on. I actually made this slide and I was like, wow, this is really kind of overwhelming. There's just too much going on. I like things a little more clean and clear. And then I realized, wait, this is life. This is literally my life. I struggled a long time with defining my worth by receiving positive outcomes. So if I became an Olympian, that was my worth. I was tied to that worth of being an Olympian. And therefore my title, my worth was also tied to my title about who I was. You know, am I a mother? Am I a world traveler? What am I? Am I an Olympian? So when I transitioned actually from Olympics, from a professional athlete, from being a goalkeeper to the real world, if you will, into the health and wellness community, I really struggled with what to call myself, and that it was so important to actually call myself something instead of finding my inner happiness inside. So another thing I've discovered about myself along this path is every career choice I've made, which may look slightly sporadic, there's actually a rhyme and reason to it. And I was always bridging a gap for people. I was always offering new perspectives and holding space. And that's really what this today is about as well. We are going to hold space together and explore, learn more about ourselves. So for example, I've led international volunteer trips to Rwanda and created these life-changing opportunities for people because, you know, we put ourselves in a completely different atmosphere. And I've taught yoga and mindfulness to Major League Baseball athletes who used to have a perception of yoga as being, you know, soft and weak. And so I've noticed along this path, there's all these kind of ways we can learn more about ourselves. And when we do, when we approach life with a little bit of curiosity, It's amazing what comes to be, amazing what we can learn about ourselves from that place and shift our perspective. All right, so happy vibes. Happy vibes is really about cultivating your inner peace and your sense of happiness, your inner happiness. As I shared before, I often tied my happiness to my external circumstances, right? How I was doing in sports, how my relationships were, and or just the life circumstance of my family, instead of just finding my sense of inner peace or my sense of inner happiness. And this image, I created this because this woman's walking by. It's almost like she doesn't even see her own, the opportunity. And happy vibes represents that. The sun in the middle is your sense of self. And when you tune into your sense of self, when you really honor your sense of self, meaning nourish yourself in whatever way that may be, bring joy into your life, you create this ripple effect out and you shine brighter for others. And you end up empowering others in a way that we didn't even know was possible. We give other people permission to be themselves, to be authentic. So my journey is one of authenticity and still on it, as we all are. It's always evolving, right? So my hope is by the end of this time together today is we are going to be facing this happy vibes as opposed to walking away from it so much. And from a scientific perspective, if that all sounds a little, I don't know, I need a little more meat to it. Happy vibes is the essence of subjective well-being. And subjective well-being is how you measure your satisfaction with life, your sense of fulfillment. It's rooted in positive psychology. And that's what I'll be blending here today, is a blend of positive psychology, of motivational interviewing, of this type of intuitive coaching, and then also my experiences and skills I gained as an Olympic athlete and everything since then. All right, well, today, we are going to be tuning into our inner compass and taking one sustainable step forward. So we're going to be looking at a big picture, and then we're also going to be fine tuning it and taking a very specific step. So what that looks like is it's experiential. This isn't a lecture. I mean, I know I'm talking to you right now, but you are going to be spending some more time inward thinking as I ask you questions. That's what I do as a coach. I ask questions. I don't tell you what to do. I simply ask questions because you have the inner wisdom and the inner resources inside of you. And we're just holding the space to help offer those to come out. Yes, I get excited about that part. So you're going to be doing the internal work. And given our circumstances that there is a lot of uncertainty around us, you can also look at this session today as we are going to be focusing on what we can control. So just keeping that in mind, what we can control, which is our relationship with ourselves, our self-talk, and our actions, and our thoughts, and our interactions with how we interact with people, how we show up in the world. And there's so much power in that. And it's a beautiful place to start, let's say. So today, again, is a creative process of really about 10 steps, almost like 10 major questions with some underlying questions within there. And part one will be a clarity on the big picture. So we're going to look big first, kind of like, where am I going here? Where do I want to get started? And then part two, honing in on the details. So, okay, I still want a sense of reward today, even or more so. So I'm going to take a step forward now. I want to step forward a little bit more. And we'll go from there. And please know, as you said, if there's questions that you have, jot them down on the side. Keep them handy because we'll have time for that, definitely. And that's a beautiful thing to do. Okie dokie. So, without further ado, part one, clarifying the big picture. Go ahead and in the chat section, write out how you feel right now. How do you feel right now? Write out one word, how you feel right now in the chat section. Just tuning into my, there we go. Okay, relaxed, calm, content, connected, warm, many options. All right, tired, energized. And just to confirm, can you see my chat screen? I haven't done that. I haven't done this before with the chat live. Can you see my chat screen or you only see my presentation screen?
We can
Just
see
let me
them
know.
both.
I can see the chat, but everybody can see their own chat.
Okay, so you cannot see my chat. Correct?
We can see what you sent to everyone.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So you don't see my chat screen though, what I'm typing or what people are sending me. Is that correct?
Yes, we can see what everyone's sending to you.
Okay, then I'll close that just because for the privacy purposes. So I'll look at those afterwards, actually. Thank you for clarifying. That's my first time doing it. So part of being authentic, right, is being real and that we're navigating new territory. So, okay, so there's such a variety of what we're feeling right now and just being in tune with that. Now we're going to start tuning further inward. And what I'd love to do is guide you through a visualization. You can also call it a meditation, an opportunity to tune inward. So I encourage you, this is about 5 minutes. And I encourage you just to get comfortable where you are. If you have any things that notify you, maybe turn those off right now, if that's an option. And ground your feet on the ground. And you can even close your eyes. And we're going to start just to connect with our breath. With our inhale, taking a deep breath in. And our exhale. And start to tune into your thoughts. Just notice the quality of your thoughts, what thoughts they are. And in fact, even setting judgment aside for a moment. Just putting judgment aside and just observing instead. Noticing the thoughts that are coming in and out. Noticing how busy or how relaxed they are. And feeling your feet grounded on the floor, starting to tune into your physical sensations. Notice any tension in your body. Notice any senses of stress. Just observing them. And then start to tune further inward to your breath again, your inhale, your exhale. Maybe even observing your heartbeat. And setting aside anything that happened earlier today. And setting aside anything happening later today. And knowing that you're here right where you're meant to be. And thanking yourself for that. Thanking yourself for showing up today. And think of one thing that you're grateful for about yourself. As you tune inward, what are you grateful for about yourself? And thinking, what are you proud about yourself? Oftentimes we spend our energy so far outward, sending it to others. Let's shift that energy inward and think about what you are proud of about yourself. And then begin to think about, on a bigger scale, looking at the bigger picture, how do you want to feel on a daily basis? Right now, how do you want to feel on a daily basis? Notice what pops up for you and try to hone in on one word. Think of one word to describe how you want to feel on a daily basis as of now. This isn't set in stone. It's something you can change anytime. Just how do you want to feel? And think of that one word. And think of what that word means to you. What does that word mean to you? How do you define it? Giving yourself a moment to reflect on that. your mind wanders, bring it back with your breath. Connecting down, rooting through your feet. And then thinking about, what is it that makes this word important to you? What is it that makes this important to you? If your word is joyful, productive, strong, whatever that word is, what is important to you about that word, about being that, about feeling it and living it? And then begin to tune inward even further, exploring, what does it feel like when you're like this? So if you want to feel joyful, what do you feel like when you're joyful? What are you like? What's different about you? How do you talk to yourself? And how do you show up in the world? How do you connect with others or speak with others? Maybe there's visuals popping up for you. Maybe there's words popping up for you. Just notice what appears. And even if there's nothing appearing, just that judgment set aside and just accepting where that's at today. So that word that you want to feel, that you embody, and imagine it's embodying every cell inside of you. Noticing what type of shift that creates for you. How that shifts your energy, your thoughts, your focus. Take a deep breath in, let it go. And start to bring yourself back to this present time. Maybe wiggle your toes and your fingers, reach up through the crown of your head. Maybe roll your shoulders back a bit, side to side. Another deep breath in. And giving yourself another thank you for being present here. When you're ready, open your eyes. Hello. Okay, I'm gonna stop the share for a moment and just check in. How are we all feeling now? What I'd love to offer this space is, you shared earlier about the word that you felt. Now go ahead and, if you feel comfortable, share how the word that you want to feel. Share the one word, and if there's any reflection that you'd like to feel to that or add to that. If there's any reflection you'd like to add, what it felt like physically, like, oh my gosh, that was the worst thing ever, or oh my gosh, that was the best thing ever, whatever it may be. It's authentic to you, and that's what's most important. It's there's no right or wrong answer. This is a safe place to support each other. And again, feel free to share in the chat section a word that you want to feel, and any other observations popped up for you today in that meditation. And what's beautiful about this is, when we do share, we often find that there's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one who feels like this. And even though our words may be different, sometimes it's still at the core. There's something there that connects us all. It's truly beautiful. Yes, I'll take another minute just for space for you to share what word popped up for you, and any reflections, if you'd like to. And if you have any water, drink some water right now. It's always great after a meditation just to tune back in. That was beautiful, by the way. That was really nice to do with you. I'm seeing so many words: confident, relaxed, helpful, exuberant, confident again, grounded, accomplished. These are powerful, everyone, powerful, and they're each in their own right. And it sounds like each one connects with you too. Thank you for sharing this. If you're still sharing it, please add on. Absolutely. So what we're going to do now is if you notice that, that was kind of a big overview of this word that we want to feel. The reason we're doing this is because oftentimes when we set a goal or we want to move forward, we think of something we need to have instead, and that's dependent on external circumstances. Instead, let's focus on what you are in control of, what's internal, what's inside of you, right? That internal work that I said we're going to be doing. We're focusing on how we want to feel. And what we often find is, yes, we start to feel that way when we do get something, but we also can find that feeling now or soon. We can actually take steps towards that. So we're looking at this again, this big picture. It's also our inner compass. Now, let's shift this to something tangible, a tangible practice that you can do every day. So we're going to take this into an affirmation. So think of that word, and we're going to turn that into an affirmation. An affirmation in this context is saying, I am feeling joyful, right? Simple as that. I am feeling joyful. Now, if you want more detail, the more detail you get, the more specific you can be, and the more, we can manifest that into our lives. We can start though, I am feeling joyful. We want it present tense. So we are feeling it now, because the more we say it, the more we believe it, even if we may not feel it right now, even if we don't feel confident right now, we can still feel confident. We will bring it into our lives and we'll start to believe it the more we say it. Oops, sorry about that. And I am feeling is again, present tense. So you can say, I am happily feeling joyful. You can add an adjective to it to make it even more just grounded and exciting. I am confidently feeling grounded, for example. So you have that visual. I guided you through some questions that had you picture what it feels like to feel, again, joyful, confident, whatever that looks like in your life, what's different about you. And this is the visualization piece. So just tune in for a moment again and think to yourself this affirmation. Okay, I am feeling blank. I am feeling confident. I am feeling strong. Now, go ahead and tie it to a visual. Whatever you felt like was the strongest visual for you in that meditation. So as an example, I am feeling confident could be, I am speaking, doing Zoom calls because I normally don't do them. That could be an example. I am feeling productive could mean that I am decluttering my closet, and I can picture myself doing that. So you can picture yourself doing something specific and saying it with the visual. Now, what we can do with this, that's great. Okay, what do we do with it? We do this. The more we say it, the more likely it's going to happen, and the more often we'll say it. So we can do it in the morning and the evening. So I want you to pick a time for yourself, what feels right for you. Do you want to say it in the morning and the evening every day for 30 days? So I highly encourage you. I said I was going to ask questions. I was going to tell you what to do, right? So I highly encourage you and encourage you to choose for yourself. How often do I want to say this affirmation? When do I want to say it? So think to yourself, when do I want to say it? And how often I want to say it? If it's in the morning, maybe it's after you brush your teeth. Maybe you have it on a Post-it note on the fridge. Whatever comes to mind for you. Okay, good. Okay, so we have our affirmation. We have our visualization of we're seeing ourselves we're feeling it. We're feeling ourselves being confident. We're feeling ourselves being productive, or whatever that word is for you. Okay, so this is the big picture. This is something we say to keep us moving forward always. Now, what are we going to do though to actually take another physical, tangible action step? Because a lot of that feeling stuff is still inside of us, right? I may be saying it aloud, which is very powerful. It's very powerful to go from thoughts to aloud. There's something that shifts inside of us when we do that. We start to believe it more. With that said though, let's also take a physical action step to bring more confidence into our life, or whatever that word is again. So we are going to go back to, I'm just going to close out my chat for a moment, and I'm going to bring you all to a screen share again. This one. All right, so part one, we were clarifying the big picture, right? And now we are honing in on the details. Simple as that. We're honing in on the details. Okay, so next step. Go ahead and think about, on a scale of 1 to 10, how, I'll say blank, do you feel? So that word that you chose for yourself, how confident, I'll just use the word confident right now because I saw that a few times. How confident do you feel? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high, how confident do you feel? So notice the number that pops up for you right now. The first one is usually the one that's it, right? Yep. Okay, so let that just settle in. And then think to yourself, okay, why did I choose this number and not one below it? So if I chose a 4 for feeling confident, why did I not choose a 3? So spend some time pondering that inwardly. Or you can talk it out loud to yourself too. And then, okay, now we know why, okay, I could go lower, but no, I am fighting for this. I do deserve this number. I could be a little higher. Now, what would it look like to be a half a point higher? Just a half a point. So think of what a half a point would look like up higher. Because you know what the number is you are now. So say again, if I'm a 4 in confidence, I know what my 4 looks like. It's right now where I'm at, how I feel. A half a point up though, what does that look like? What does it feel like? And start to hone in on a specific example of what a half point looks like. It may have already popped in your head too. You may already had that. Go ahead and think about what a half a point looks like, feels like, sounds like. What are you doing? And the more specific that we can get about this example, the better. So for example, if my example was to declutter, I was like, oh, I'm going to declutter. That's a half point up. Let's hone in even more, saying let's pick a place to declutter. I'm going to declutter the little drawer in my bathroom, right? Thinking about if I'm going to do something for myself, how can we be more specific with that? Okay, I'm going to take a bath today, or I'm going to go for a walk by myself. That's like my personal luxury thing, is going for a walk by myself. I have a 3.5-year-old and a 7-month-old. So my alone time is I have to really like stand up and say, I need this time for myself. So going for a walk, for example, is definitely a half a point up for me for me time and helps me feel fulfilled and joyful too. Okay, I'm going to stop the share for a moment and turn on the chat again. Okay, so now we know, let's reflect on this. We know what our big picture is, our inner compass, how we want to feel, what that looks like. We have an affirmation, we have a visualization, and it's simple, right? It's not overcomplicated. We're not going into an intense visualization every day. It's literally just an image that you see tied with this phrase. And now we've honed in on, well, what does a half point up look like in this area of my life that I want to spend more energy in? It is important to me. And to clarify how important it is, let's look at that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this for me to feel more blank, whatever that word is? Exuberant, confident, relaxed, grounded. I just like saying them with little hand gestures, of course. And now finally, so we can have this great idea. Maybe an idea popped in your head, like, oh, half point up could look like this. Oh, okay, I can do that. You might already be thinking that. You might already be thinking this, like, that's possible for me. Okay, I can go from there. This is something I can do. So start to think about, well, what's next for you, right? We're actually, a very powerful thing about coaching and about I mentioned that phrase, motivational interviewing, the way I'm asking you questions is by asking questions, you come up with the answers yourself. Again, that inner wisdom and those inner resources that you have. And we're much more likely to move forward with things and take steps towards our goal and gain momentum in our lives and do what we say we want to do when we come up with the idea ourselves, compared to if somebody tells us, right? It's much more experiential learning. It's experiential insights that we gain. So thinking about what would you like to do next? What feels right for you as a next step? Let's say this week. So from now through Wednesday, for a whole week's worth, what feels like a next step? Because you've clarified what a half point up looks like. And you've clarified how important is it to you, whether it is, and if it's high, if it's super important, then you're more likely to move forward, right? But if your level of importance was like a 4, then maybe there's something else that's more important to you to dedicate your energy towards, and that's okay too, okay? So think about how you'd like to move forward now. Would you like to take initiative on it? Now, if there's still a lack of clarity on what that half point up looks like, that's something we can explore as well, how we can get more specific. But it needs to be a realistic step, a simple, realistic, achievable step, not overwhelming. I mean, baby steps win the race. Let's just say that. Baby steps, little baby steps at a time. So do you want to take initiative on this next step? And if you do, how would you like to be held accountable to it? In other words, when we just hold that idea in our heads, a few months ago, I had this idea of doing, actually only 2 months ago, of starting a podcast. And I almost kept it to myself. I was like, nope, Jamie, nope, you're not ready. Nope, that's who says you can make a podcast? You know, you've never done that before. Since when are you going to do that? And I almost held it in. Instead, I just started talking about it and I started telling people about it. And now this podcast is actually launching on Monday. And I've already interviewed my first 2 people and first 2 guests. And it happened. It started because I was willing to tell somebody about it and just start talking about it. So that's the power of accountability, is just simply saying it aloud and talking to people about it. So when I ask, how would you like to be held accountable? It could be, you could write it here in the chat section. Option 1, just know that. Yep, it's always available. So if you do know what you'd like to do, taking a step forward, you can do that here in the chat section. You can tell a friend, a partner, you can write, you can do updates in calendars and things. That still takes it out of you, but it only connects you. It does help if there's another person involved, I do find. So if you do want to really actually move forward in this area of your life that's important to you, then find someone to tell, to talk to, or to ask you about it, just to let them know. Say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. And know that this chat section is here available and counts too. And you can send it to me privately too, if that's something you prefer. Know that that's an option. So looking back, this was what I love about these Happy Vibes sessions is it's almost like this reflection, group coaching experience, and virtually today. And we've created our compass that guides us and helps us make a decision. So now we can look at, okay, if I want to feel more joyful in my life, you know, is this thing that I'm doing today, is it bringing me more joy? And we can go there in the questions if you want about, you know, how we balance that and life, right? But we're just talking about baby steps today, right? Taking a single step. So we've created this affirmation, this visualization, and we also have this single step that you can take now that you created for yourself, that you're inspired by. And again, if you're not inspired by, that's something to ask and be like, what's that about? Let's use that curiosity. What's that about? Why am I not curious about it? Or why am I not inspired by it? And we can explore another word, another option. So go ahead and just tuning in. Notice where your thoughts are at now. And I invite you to share a word of how you're feeling now. Whatever word that is, whatever word you're feeling now. It's a wonderful way for us to kind of see where we're at too. Just a word describing how you're feeling now. Hopeful, grateful. I second those. I feel hopeful and grateful too. Secure. Yes, more centered. Thank you, everyone, for being open to share to me or to our group. Thankful. Hopeful and grateful again. These are popular ones. All right, so as I am going to share just a little bit more on my screen. Here we go. All right, oopsies. So if you see this image, now, the woman was walking away on a different wall, a yellow wall, and now this woman is just floating and taking a leap towards happy vibes. And it reminds me of this experience as you're sharing this, we feel hopeful, we feel grateful. And sometimes nothing changed around us, right? The world did not change around us that we know of, right? We're still in our homes, most likely. We're on our computers and we're still present right here. What changed is this shift inside of us, the self-talk, or maybe our perspective, or maybe our sense of belief of ourselves, whatever it is, there was a shift, possibly, most likely. And that is the power of our relationship with ourselves. And we do have the choice to be our worst critic or our biggest fan, or something in between. We can be a supportive fan or a supportive coach. And it's, again, that takes baby steps too. You created a shift today by being present, and it really does start with intention. The power of our words starts with an intention, a thought, and then saying it and doing it and living it. And you did that today for yourself. You are doing it. And this is literally just the beginning. This is opening up a door. So I'm so curious to see what also will come to be in the next few days for you and week for you, just as this shift of, okay, I have these new tools. I have these tools available to me. How do I want to feel today? How do I want to feel big picture? So that's something that we can use to help us keep moving forward. Because sometimes I know we feel like we're moving backwards, we're going sideways and every which way but straight. And we're not always floating with an umbrella, but we are little bit by little bit. So that is my presentation, if you will. Not presentation, let's call it it's a happy vibes session, the happy vibes session. And I am so grateful for having this time to guide you and for you to trust me in this space of, this is really the the tip of the iceberg of the type of work that I do with empowerment coaching or with speaking, and that we can do, and that's possible for us. And I really do appreciate you for trusting me in this space. Now, what I'd love to do also is just a thank you is, I would love to offer you a giveaway. And we have Happy Vibes is my brand, and we have Happy Vibes bracelets, and 50% of proceeds go towards women-led conscious small businesses. So I'd love to be able to ask for feedback in an email. And if that's something you'd like to do, then you will be entered into a giveaway. And that's completely optional, obviously. So just know that that's optional. And it would be for this Happy Vibes Mind bracelet. And it's something that I wear all the time. They're tangible reminders for mindful living, and each bracelet has a different theme. And all these bracelets right now are also made by people who are unable to work due to social distancing at this time. And in closure, I also just wanted to share that I mentioned that podcast, and it's starting up on June 1st. And it's a well-being podcast to shine your light. It's with inspiring and empowering women who are making positive changes in this world, and like Joni and Monica. And it's also uplifting and it's real and authentic. And we talk about self-talk. So if you like learning about yourself and exploring that area of your life, then that'll be for you. And
So,
I'm just gonna-
so Jamie, we have a question. So is the feedback related to the bracelet or the Happy Vibes session?
Oh, thank you for clarifying. This session. Thank you for clarifying. Just as a thanks of gratitude, I'm doing a giveaway. Yes, with the bracelet. But I would love to receive feedback on what this was like for you. And Joni and Monica, maybe we can talk about that after, how best to offer that.
Wonderful. You can put your email here and we can capture the Zoom chat later. Does anybody, you're welcome to turn on your video again if you'd like. And does anyone have any questions for Jamie? I thought that was just a fabulous presentation, Jamie. And I think it's so interesting how you do have a choice to, can you just feel, you know, a half a percent better? Like, what does that feel like? What if it was 1%? So that's just lovely. And I really appreciated that. And someone's asking, what is the email we should use to provide feedback? Do you want it to go directly to you?
Oh, the email, they can send it to me. If that's something you're comfortable with. Yeah.
That's
you can
great.
send your
Here,
email directly to me in the chat. Sure.
I will put it, or do you want to put it in there? I'll put it in there for you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the name of the podcast is Happy Vibes Conversations. Yes, you can find that on my website, and actually just put this in on the website, and it'll also be going to the podcast channels. There we go. So that's the website you can check. And there's many updates also on my Instagram right here. So you're welcome to find that there as well. And thank you, Joni, for putting that on there.
Yes, and then someone asked, can you buy the bracelet? Sounds like it's part of a plan to do well by doing good. So where can you buy, the bracelet on your website? That's great.
Yep, you can also buy, it's shop, you can shop there. Yeah, it's all there, and all the information about the Happy Vibes grant and everything too. So if you know also women-led conscious small businesses that needs financial support right now, anyone here, for example, and please know that that's available, and the form is online too.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Ling, did you have a question?
Oh,
sorry. Okay. Go ahead, Monica.
I have a question, Jamie. When you were talking about saying affirmations like twice a day and maybe setting a goal of doing it for 30 days, how long do you feel like it takes to transition from desiring the outcome to actually feeling it when you're taking these types of steps?
And so if I hear you correctly, it's desiring to feeling, not specifically bringing it to action or doing it, but still that feeling.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know how you'll read things like it takes a minimum of whatever it is, 21 days to do something before it becomes a habit. Do you have any thoughts about, like, when you were saying create a goal of saying affirmations twice a day, suggesting morning and night as an example?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you feel like just over time, then it becomes part of how you feel internally?
Yes, I do. And the reason is our body are so connected. And so an example of that is when I was competing at the Olympic level, I started to have a psychological kind of almost like emotional challenges. And I was going through kind of a depressive state as well. And I was starting to
Jamie, I think that you have frozen. Your video's frozen. Sometimes that happens on Zoom.
Maybe her connection isn't very good.
Here, let me text her while we hang on for a moment. This is such good information.
While we're waiting for Jamie to come back, this is reminding me of a special program that we're creating right now for Grapevine for the summer, and it's around self-care goals. So I think we're kicking it off on June 5th. And the idea is that each of us would come up with a self-care goal, share it with one another. And then we'll be hosting Friday morning coffee, 30-minute sessions where we'll have an expert join us and give a little talk about different aspects related to goal setting, whether it's, you know, just similar to this talk, or if it's like, how do you juggle life's demands, or about goal setting itself. So it'd be every Friday morning just for 30 minutes, joining some, joining all, doesn't matter. But we're really excited to be offering this program, and this seems like it's a great kickoff for it, to start thinking about what self-care goals could look like. And those self-care goals can be anything from, you know, setting 30 minutes of me time every day to running a marathon, or, you know, it could be anything you want it to be, but we're really excited about it.
Yes. So welcome back, Jamie.
Welcome back, Jamie.
I missed you all. Oh, thank you for your patience. Yes, is it okay to continue my story?
Yes, please do.
Perfect, thanks. Yes, it was actually kind of funny timing, because I was explaining how I was having issues actually throwing a ball, and just things weren't going as you want them to go. You know, sometimes things don't go as we want them to go, and we get booted off. And I wasn't actually able to visualize myself throwing the ball and in the place I wanted to. Like, I literally would try to think about it so hard, and I couldn't see myself throwing the ball. I couldn't see myself being successful. And I wasn't. Every time I threw the ball, I was throwing it off. I was throwing it short. And again, this is at the Olympic level, when I've been throwing for years. It was an emotional kind of blockage. And it was something that required me to actually, you know, address that blockage and be able to move forward. So to answer your question, Monica, I find that visualization and the body and mind are so connected that we need to be able to see and believe and feel it. So these are simply senses that help us move forward. So while there's not maybe a specific answer that I'm aware of, at least, about how long it takes, I think it's very unique to the person and to where you're at too.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any
Great
other
answer.
questions popping up for anyone?
I have a question, and forgive me for being muted here. I'm outdoors and I didn't want to be moving around. But, you know, that whole concept when you were trying to throw a ball and you knew that you could do it, you know, and your teammates are counting on you and people are watching you and you're not doing it, I'm sure there must be some self-talk that's going, what's the matter with you? Come on, get your stuff together. You can do this, which is what I say to myself a lot. And so I'm just wondering how you actually overcame that to the point where, you know, you went on and achieved.
Yeah, Teresa, thank you so much for your open and honesty. And yes, my inner critic, that voice that, you know, that just talks, that says I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't do it, why me? It was so loud and not even just cheeky, it was just kind of mean. And I've always been quite hard on myself as well. And I think that there really is a fine line between, right, achieving so much, yet at what cost, right? Is it because I'm pushing myself so hard because I just make myself do it again and again and work harder? But what's it costing me energetically of how I treat myself? And there's this practice that, and this is funny enough. So I retired about, 10 years ago. And I only learned this practice maybe a couple of years ago. And this more self-compassion journey is only more recent. And actually being kind to myself, trying to be kind to myself at times, right? Because we're always going to be tough on ourselves. Well, there you go. That's a belief of mine, apparently. We don't need to be tough on ourselves. But apparently I still believe that a little bit. We're all learning. And there's a self-compassion practice, though, is asking ourselves, how would I treat a good friend in this situation? You know, how do I talk to myself when I make a mistake? And how would I talk to a good friend if they made a mistake? And notice that difference. And that can be a game changer in realizing how we treat ourselves compared to how we treat someone else. I just did a video series with professional businesswomen of California, and that was one of the topics, was our relationship with our inner critic and how we speak to ourselves, and how we can also, there's another video about how we can shift from self-criticism to self-love. And they're very powerful practices. I hope that offers some kind of insight, Teresa.
Yeah, thanks. It's so simple, and it's like, well, yeah, duh, but it's like, oh, why haven't I thought about that before?
Yeah,
So,
let's be real
yeah,
though. It's
that's
tough.
good.
It's not easy. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Monica, do you want to close? Thank you, Jamie, so much.
Thank you.
That was fabulous.
Jamie, that really was. And my word was grounded. And right now I feel so grounded. I feel really relaxed. So thank you.
Thank you.